It is one of those tipping points where, it is a really exciting point in our industry, or a lot of industries. Let's face it, how we can have that human and the machine running at pace together. Welcome to the Tech Savvy Recruiter, the podcast for recruitment and staffing agency owners keen to explore the tech innovations reshaping our industry. I'm Andrew Roger from recMate.
And I'm Belinda from Recruitment Garage, and together we're your hosts, bringing you a stellar lineup of tech experts ready to help you understand and, more importantly, benefit from the increasing array of tech available to you today. Well, welcome to another episode of the Tech Savvy Recruiter podcast. Today we have an exciting guest, Carl Sagun, the innovative founder of Synaptico. Synaptico is revolutionizing lead generation and outreach through cutting-edge AI technology, making it easier than ever for sales professionals to connect with leads at scale. Carl's going to share his insights in how he believes AI is transforming the sales process, the journey of building Synaptico, and really what he believes the future holds for AI in the sales process. So stay tuned for a fascinating conversation. So to kick off, Carl, in what ways do you see AI transforming traditional sales roles, and what skills do you believe will be critical for sales professionals to develop in the future?
Well, I can answer this question in two parts. So what I believe AI how AI will transform traditional sales roles is by automating and assisting on the low-level manual tasks, your admin, in your research, and your initial outreach to get the leads. So all the things that increase deal velocity, which isn't contingent on a third party like the customer. That's how AI will transform traditional sales. But from there, it's always going to be, I believe, that the human that needs to continually develop negotiation, pitching, as Greg Savage says, managing the moments of truth in the process, because I don't think an AI can do that for us yet. And it's the low tech skills which need to be nurtured.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously that's where your product sort of focuses on that end as well. So how do you think, where do we make that sort of bridge between AI, where AI leaves off and then the human kicks off? How do we kind of navigate that?
Well, there's two things. So the human has to be intuitive enough to go, okay, I can take over now. But as long as AI can give us that right information off like a spec sheet or an email, or just can give us enough information for the sales professional to go, all right, I can work with this. That's where the human takes over. There's still going to be that kind of intuition or that EQ that you use, where you leverage the technology that you have, but you don't let it take over the entire process.
I think there's still a huge amount of range, I guess, for that human touch, because it's the art and science of sales, right? So if we can get the science helped along by AI, then we can practice that art piece, which is such a beautiful part of our industry, to build those relationships, work out different ways to interact with people. But as you said, Carl, some of us in sales aren't great with a lot of the process side of things. So I think if AI can help us be better at that, do that initial outreach as you highlighted, but then maybe put the follow-up into the system automatically for us, all those kinds of steps to expedite that deal from prospect to sale. There's a lot of moving parts there, and I get distracted easily. Sales professionals get distracted easily. So if the system can help us refocus our energies and practice that art of sales a little bit more, we've got a lot more time to build upon that and, to manage those customer relationships. I think it's a really exciting time, actually. Now, with AI, I think on the top of everyone's tongue, or the tip of everyone's tongue, is concerns about how that's going to impact. We talked about, in the last bit of the discussion around how AI won't replace us humans 100%, but it might replace some of the stuff we don't we don't like doing or we're not good at doing. But there's also concerns about ethical implications and data privacy issues associated with, AI bots and AI-driven sales processes. Has that come up for your business in terms of when you're speaking with prospects or your clients around what their fears are for AI in those areas?
It comes up in every sales call or every kind of relationship building call. Where does my data get stored? Where are you hosting it? All kinds of those kinds of questions. But when I look at a piece of new tech, whether it's for Synaptico or whether it's for my other recruitment businesses, I always look at the team behind them, how long they've been in the industry, and where my data will be hosted. So I don't recommend people just to pick up any kind of technology, even if they think it's going to help them. They need to actually do their research behind it. Um, so, like someone can come along and sell you a chatbot, but that's just going to be plugged into ChatGPT. But if you know a little bit about AI, you know that everything is plugged into ChatGPT and everything goes into the ether. But when you take a look at Synaptico, we've been working on it for 2 years, where we've given a strict guardrails, a strict mission. It's not going to hallucinate. Your data gets hosted in a certain spot just for you in Australia, and it aligns with the Privacy Act. My advice is to just as a customer, just do that research initially.
Yeah, because I think I don't know about you, but whenever I scroll on Insta, there's another thing marketing to me for the latest AI, co-pilot that I can subscribe to. Last night there was one that had, I've got 12 personalized AI bots at my disposal, one for marketing, one for lead gen, one for developing sales funnels, one for processing inbound inquiries, all that kind of stuff there, right? But I don't know how many people, but I think people eventually do get to that question around where is all that information going and how safe is that information for my customers. So it's good that you've got that answered.
My thing is, if they go, it takes you 15 minutes to make, is it really going to be good for your business?
Yeah, exactly. I think with great power comes great responsibility as well. So I think a little bit is on us still to make that discerning investment around where we're putting our information and truly partnering with companies that have the right ethos involved around the whole privacy and ethical implications of how that data is used.
Yeah. And so, Carl, we'll talk about Synaptico a little bit. But what I'm interested in, because I know that you're in recruitment yourself and very much in the healthcare space, I'd love to know, just in your general kind of building Synaptico or just talking in the market, what sort of case studies, and it's such early days, but what sort of things are you hearing in the market, like the good stories around how people have had some real wins with lead gen through AI products versus what we were doing in the Stone Age?
So we launched Synaptico on May 9th, and since then we've had over 50 people trial the trial account. But the first few people that I gave it to test for us, outside of our own testing and and make sure that it worked, the very first customer picked up 2 placements in the trial account from data that was sitting in their database for years. So they had spoken to these people in like 3 or 4 years, and that's the reason why we exist. And that's from a trial of 1,600 people, and it would have taken them weeks and weeks to find those 2 people.
Well, given we're on that, let's talk a little bit about you as well, because I think that's going to give a bit of a frame of reference for the rest of the conversation as well. So let's jump to, instead of the end of the podcast, let's put you in now and hear a little bit about, because you and I shared what prompted you starting the business. So maybe just, give us a little bit of rundown. What prompted you, what you're seeing so far, and then we can dig into some more questions from there. I think that might work well.
Yeah. Well, I'm a recruiter by background, so I've been running ACM healthcare for the last decade. And outside of ACM, we run home care businesses with direct-to-government workforce and NDIS workforce. Over the last decade, our database has just grown and grown and grown, but the nurture rate in the industry and just in general is practically zero. That's what I believe. So your database of candidates grow year on year on year, and you might spend 3% of the year trying to nurture them. So during those conversations, me and my business partners, we love technology. We love like augmenting stuff with the business to make stuff faster, to process improve. We decided to try and find something that could go through our database, but could also do it at a human-like level. Because we did see these initial bots and initial flowchart outreach technology that we believe wouldn't really work because the way that people respond to it. So we wanted something that was human-like, that could have kind of our branding on it and increase the response rate. Because we knew that inside our own database there was leads or revenue that was just hidden, that we just couldn't. We didn't have the manpower to access.
Couldn't dig it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always say when talking to clients that there is a mountain of gold that you're sitting on in your own database, and it's just the way to get the right sifting tool, the right pick, the right shovel, the right excavator, whatever it might take to get to that gold that's buried in there. Because unfortunately, often databases are where great candidates go to die.
Oh my God.
And, you acquire them, you bury them in lots of other data. So having a partner with a system that can help, sift through that at a million rates quicker than a human can just makes more sense.
It's one of the things when I first speak to recruitment agency owners, it's one of the first things I always touch on. And I think probably one in about 100 people has a pristine database. It's this massive unused asset. And like you said, Rogie, there's like so much gold in there, but they don't know how to get it out. It just feels too big, too hard. And we'd rather go and spend more money to reacquire them again, which is absolutely nuts. Is like money falling through
I guess that's probably the easy option, isn't it? When you get a job on, put an ad up, see what you get in, and then if it's a bit of a slow response, you might do a little bit of digging in your own database. But unfortunately, the knee-jerk reaction is, I've got to get that ad out onto the web and then process that response. But that time to fill could be much more efficient if you're, preloading your jobs with people, even before you get the job on, because you know what specializations that you have as an industry, as a recruitment company. So why not keep nurturing, as Carl was saying, those people that you have already acquired, get to understand what their needs, dreams, hopes and wants are. And then, when a job comes on that meets their requirements, if you've got the system to automatically go, hey, Carl, hey, BK, I've got this amazing insert job title role I'm starting to work on. Do you want to hear more about it? Yes, no?
Yeah, so true. And sometimes it's not as hard as people think. Like they might have thousands and thousands of people in their database, but sometimes, and with tools like Carl's and other things, like sometimes you can do it quite quickly. Like I've had people in my program basically just spend, maybe even half a day on their database doing some different things, and all of a sudden they're pulling out people that, were buried deep before. So sorry, Carl, we took you a little bit off track there and interrupted you, but let's go back to, but it all kind of ties in, doesn't it?
I felt like that was like completely on track because that's the entire reason we built it. So we went to a venture company, and then halfway through the process, they were like, you know what, this is actually something we've never seen before. We want to own half your business.
Oh,
so
handy.
Instead of having it internally for us, it's now a product that for the open market. Yeah.
I think there's so many great success stories where it comes from within the industry, Carl. I work with another supplier, and they're in the similar style industry as you, and they've developed a tool set to help gather, all the, long forms that hospitals might need you to fill out as a nurse or a doctor. And but that came from their need.
Yesterday.
Yeah, okay, you know who I'm talking about. So that came from their need, right? But they've built it as a tool, and now they're selling it to the industry as a solution, so it helps their systems and processes, and ultimately it's a better customer experience for the candidates.
100%. I mean, and because you're at the grassroots of it, you understand exactly what the market wants. So cool. So if I'm an agency owner, Carl, and I'm thinking about Synaptico, what are the things that I should expect from it?
So Synaptico right now only does one thing. It's an email out to your dormant candidate database, and it will ask for preferences, phone number, and time for a call. It takes the candidate through 3 stages of the sales process or sales steps. And then once it hits to a shortlist, human or your top consultants take over. So the idea behind it was you load a campaign to your dormant database, let it run for 12, 24 hours, and then your top biller or top recruiter is meant to go back to that list and go, I've got 15 people to call as a start of my day. A lot of companies and my guys are kind of guilty of it as well, that they don't nurture the art of reverse marketing. And this is what Synaptico kind of really does. It pulls people that you haven't spoken to before, that have the right skill set, that could have been applicant B, C, or D on a application, and you can easily reverse market them again to someone who's moved on.
And I think you said there's like a series. Is there? I imagine you can set it up in any way you like, but like you might get like email 1, 2, 3 or something like that, or is it just one email that goes out, or they can do what they want?
It's built off human interaction. So how it looks and feels like it's coming from your company. We've got it set up we have it set up as AI recruiter. So someone totally not client facing. They've got a name. Ava's one of them. She can reach out, and she looks and feels like an assistant to Vanessa, speaks to heaps of nurses, and then Vanessa gets all the leads the next day. It looks like that on a human level, so it doesn't do any of the current drip feed campaigns that most systems have. It doesn't go, hey, I'm just bumping this to the top of your inbox, because then it's an automation.
Oh my God, if I hear that once more, I'm going to bump you straight to the bottom of my inbox. Every time I get that, you're going to bump out into my trash.
We're built as if I send you an email from it, you won't be able to tell it's not me.
Yes, it's like that executive or virtual assistant, but in overdrive, because it can do so much more rapidly.
Yeah. And do you think, and I'm assuming, because whenever I get things these days, I'm thinking, was that a real person or was that a bot? But increasingly, I just don't care. If there's value for me, I don't really mind. As long as somebody's not being really underhanded about it, I'm kind of expecting it. Like, is that sort of the premise that we're going from these days? Is that people, they know it's not really, but they're okay with it?
Yeah, I think with other products in the market, that's kind of set the expectation that it might be a bot or it might not be. But I think in terms of, the hardest thing to get a candidate to do is respond to you when they want to and to conversate with you. So we've developed it in a way where it's conversational, and you can answer hard questions like, oh, you're on mat leave? I'll call you in 9 months or 6 months. Or your dog died, or dogs are part of the family. That's more that small human nuances that we put into the system allows the candidate to kind of give us an increased response rate based on anything else. Instead of just going, are you looking for work? Yes, no. Where are you looking for work? Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you if you have any comparisons between before you were using the system and now. Like, what are the biggest things that you've noticed? Because I know it's early days, but I also know that you do have some data.
Inside ACM, we're actually using it now to move from one CRM to another. So we're using it to reactivate all the really, really, truly looking for work candidates, and we're using it to create a new CRM for the business and archiving everybody else.
Okay.
So, and that's another thing that I think companies don't tend to do, because, your database is like, how big is your database? It's $1 million. It's like 1 million people, but is it really?
There's 3 good ones in there.
Yeah. Or I've been in contact with 0.02% of that database in the last 6 months,
Sometimes it's better if you've got, instead of having 1 million people, if you've got 5,000 that are truly active, that could be worth way more than, sitting on 1 million graves.
Oh, 100%. And it works anyway. I'm actually just going through the process of deleting half of my LinkedIn contacts because I used to work in the media and advertising space and now I don't. My marketer recruitment agency owners in small businesses. And so it just makes everything muddy. And I use the analogy, you wouldn't sit there cold calling on the phone and then just cold call a few people that were completely outside your market. And I believe it's the same for, wherever your database is, your LinkedIn in business, you can always reconnect with people and keep that data somewhere else. But when you're using these assets to find candidates, to find clients and to do business every day, wherever that data is, it has to be clean and up to date. And then I think it's your biggest asset.
Yeah. And I guess that's why we exist. Because the term databases are graveyards. I mean, everybody knows it when in recruitment. Like every single person, when you say that, they know exactly what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, we actually did find, sadly, a few people on our database that had passed on.
I've made that phone call before in my recruitment career where someone's answered and say, "Oh, can I speak to Joe?" And said, "Oh, Joe's not
I've done that too.
Unfortunately,
wasn't one of my proudest moments, so I didn't know. But oh gosh, how awful. Anyway, let's get back on the positive train.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Carl, in terms of AI, what role do you think it plays in understanding or can it understand and predict customer behaviour? And think of a sales process and sales strategies. How can it help us to tailor those sales strategies for better outcomes?
I think it's the other way around. AI should have an understanding and a predictability of the sales professional's behavior. So how you work, how you like to work, it should augment that. Because at the end of the day, only the sales professional truly knows the customer. Like you can't send a bot to close a deal, or not many people. I don't believe people are ready to buy from a robot at a certain level just yet. Especially if it's a human-to-human interaction, if it's a recruitment placement, or if it's like a house. No, you want to deal with a person. So the behavior that the AI should be predicting is your behavior if you were the sales professional. Because, like I said, the sales professional knows the customer, knows what they're like on their off days, knows what they're like on their on days. AI right now is very IQ, very information-driven. Good sales professional is very EQ. It's very hard to teach right now. So use AI to predict the behavior of the sales professional and then use that process to tailor the sales strategy.
And obviously with the generations of ChatGPT, that EQ component is slowly but surely slipping in there, isn't it, to boost the IQ that we all know ChatGPT engine has. And it's going to be, I think, a really amazing tool. I find that
interesting because it's still artificial EQ. Like whatever way you look at it, it's still artificial. It's not that nuanced. I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but I just find that the cynical side of me thinks, how can you ever?
It's definitely getting there. Do yourself a favour, have a look at bland.io, I think it is. And they're a outreach chatbot. So they will make phone calls for you. Yeah. And so there's a page where you can punch in your details and she will give you a call. Blandy is the character that will give you a call and you will have a chat with her and you'll be amazed at how close it is to speaking with almost a human, right? So there's still a slight delay.
There's a latency still.
Yeah, it's still a slight delay, but it's almost there. It's very, very, very close.
Yeah, that just scares me.
Well, I mean, deep fakes have happened. It's going to be that phone call that you receive from your daughter, BK, saying, "Hey, Mum, I need some cash." You won't be able to tell. So, tip for everyone: have a safe word for your family, and then you say, "Oh, what's our family's safe word?"
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, and then you can say it's Freddo Frog or whatever it might be, right?
Generally, there's a latency in it, and like until they can get over the fact that people tend to talk over each other, like we have in the last 30 seconds. It won't even match. And like you've got companies like Figure, Brett Adcock is creating a humanoid robot. If we put an AI into that robot, can that robot sell to you? I don't think so yet. It's not. We're not ready for that.
Not yet. No.
It's a little bit like that movie. Did you see that movie Her? When
Yes.
the guy falls in love with the AI, and how many people are you dating? Oh, about 2.5 million or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, cool. So I guess with everything that we've said there, and I love your kind of insights into this and the way you think about AI, Carl. And on that note, how do you foresee? We've just talked a little bit about it there with Bland.io and Her, but how do you foresee the evolution of AI, particularly in sales, over the next few years? And what new technologies or innovations do you see on the horizon that that interest you, or you feel we should be taking notice of?
I think it's the speed of information that we can get as humans. The next iteration of that would be how fast we can consume that information. Because I've always said and not I've always said it, but I've heard it and I've always said it to other people, we're basically cyborgs already. The phone is just connected to our thumbs. So it's just whether or not that can be implemented into AI or into us in the next 5 to 10. But it's just how fast we can pick up information as humans, really.
So are you saying that we're really part of the Borg network?
Yeah, the only thing
We're just waiting to be connected by some sort of...
You're already connected by your hand and your phone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a manual connection point at the moment, but it will be, automated
stuff like
at some point.
Elon Musk's Neuralink, which I think is pretty impressive. But yeah, the way information can be given to us as humans and how we can piece that all together or deploy it is what I think is next.
It's interesting. Like Andrew and I, we've been running this podcast for about 6 or 7 months now, and every conversation, even if it wasn't originally about AI, has always had a big AI component. It's fascinating, isn't it? And it is very early days. And Rod was saying, I think it was Rod was saying in the last podcast how we just, this escalation, the escalation on that curve, the exponential curve, and we're just here. So, and we I think we asked him, didn't we, Roger, about, 5 or 10 years, and he goes, forget 5 or 10 years. This is like one or 2 years. So I think, it's just interesting to me, and I think we all must stay in this conversation to make sure. It's not even about being left behind. It's about just understanding best use case and what is out there. It's hard enough now to understand what tech's out there, and I just think that's exploding, and it's exploding. So, I don't know. What do you reckon, Carl? Do you think, like, how easy is it going to be for tech companies? Because there's lots and lots of tech companies popping up as well. How are we going to bridge this gap? I mean, Roger and I are trying to do it here with these conversations, but how are we going to bridge this gap between all these tech companies and the use cases in recruitment to make sure that everybody wins? Maybe there's no answer to that. I don't know.
To me, that still comes down to a human choice. So your EQ, your intel, your gut feel, it's still going to come down to whether or not you use that technology.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and I think it's, if you reflect on, I think it's Moore's Law, isn't it, around the chipset doubling in speed every 2 years. I think that's been sort of thrown out the window now, in terms of there's probably going to be a new law for how quickly the AI modules are quadrupling in speed every quarter or something like that, right? But I think to your point, Carl, you've got to pick up and run with the technology, get familiar with it, understand that language, because it is a different language. So if you were in a foreign country, you'd pick up the language that they speak locally. And I think we've all got to start learning this language. Otherwise, businesses will get left behind quite rapidly. And I think up until now, you could have afforded to be a little bit of a Luddite in most industries. But I think that door is very, very, very much closed now. I think you have to, should be on everybody's radar, have some sort of a policy procedure or, team just to keep your eye on what is happening in this space from a technological perspective. because there are companies out there. There's a UK company that recruits for the NHS, and they don't have sales professionals. Okay, so they do tap into the NHS feed. They've got a very good sourcing model. They've got a very good compliance model to make sure the doctors and nurses are ticks in the right boxes for their paperwork and insurances, etc. But they don't have a sales professional selling to the NHS. Okay, so there will be companies like that get developed for a different industries. So they're going to be highly efficient, do all the right customer service stuff, but it's going to be driven by a central node. So that, Carlsborg central node that we'll be all connected to, you want to be able to tune into that. So to be able to tune in, you've got to understand the language there. So I think it's it's some people find it scary. I find it really exciting. So
I find it both.
Yeah, I've got a term for that, Beak. I don't know if I've shared it with you. You can bleep it out if we need to.
Woman?
You said that, I didn't. I call it shiting, shit scared but exciting at the same time.
Yeah, I like that.
It is one of those tipping points where, it is a really exciting point in our industry, or a lot of industries. Let's face it, how we can have that human and the machine running at pace together. And
I have those moments where I think of when Stephen Hawking used to say, "Do not let AI out of the bag," and I go, "Well, he's a pretty smart dude." And so I have those moments of, where are we taking this thing in the world? But that's probably a bigger conversation than we can tackle
one,
today.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Carl, where can people get in contact with you about Synaptico?
You can go to our website, synaptico.io, or you can contact me directly at carl@synaptico.io.
Fantastic. Very exciting time for you. It is the ground I can see your evolution in a stronger pace than Moore's Law, that's for sure, with your product and service. So we wish you all the best, and a big thank you for you, Carl, for joining us today and sharing us a little bit of insights into how AI is transforming our world and many worlds in different parallel industries as well. We hope you joined us today and found this a really interesting discussion as well. And please stay tuned for more episodes where we delve into the latest and greatest in what's shaping the world of recruitment and sales. Until next time, keep innovating and stay tech savvy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carl, for your insights. Really interesting.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, awesome. That was awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Tech Savvy Recruiter. If you'd like to stay up to date with the latest recruitment trends and insights, make sure that you remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also, if you'd like to speak to Andrew about turning your tech stack into your secret weapon, or myself around creating an agency that delivers you more money, more meaning, and more freedom, we'd absolutely love to chat. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support. We look forward to seeing you next time.